Eat the peach! As I was driving, no, try to do the same thing. As I was driving down the road, this woman stops me with a heavy load. It's in major. This woman stops me with a heavy load. She says, "Oh, mister, can you take me?" You take me and my load for free. This is the hard part. Me and my load for free.
You have the other strap too, right, Arthur? Otherwise it'll fall off, right?
I'm sorry?
Other strap too, right?
I think so, yeah.
Just tie this one, right?
Yeah,
Are you comfortable?
Yeah.
Okay. Keep one out of her face. This?
yeah. This is supposed to go down like that, but it's too close to the
Yeah, we're gonna move this. Are we ready to roll?
Not quite.
That's pretty good.
How'd that look, Fred?
I like it.
Do you want me to do it again?
Yeah, do it again.
We lay there till time for tea. We brushed ourselves, we began to leave. And then she cried, "But what about me?" And I replied, "You're free." She says, "Come on, don't be like that." I says, "No, sweet pea, don't say that. Nothing in the world is free, not even you for me." And she goes, so I say, "Okay, hop in."
This is a very, from what I understand, something quite different for you.
For me, the dynamic of having more of a free form kind of environment where you have like just very vague. First of all, things are like very vague and then very specific too at the same time, and it forces you to kind of play. You're used to going kind of forward and backwards, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'll go left.
What I see happening here, for me, is very unique. I've never seen anything quite like this.
Yeah, it was. This here was very. It made me kind of like, whoa, like, okay, what am I doing? What am I doing? Okay, well, let's just kind of think, because I was completely I wasn't lost, but I was kind of lost in the, like, well, okay, well, how do I make this fit, kind of thing? Because I think a lot of traditional musicians are used to structure.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. And if you knock it, it's okay.
Okay.
It's not the end of the world.
We got it on camera.
We say it's not the end of the world.
Okay. Hold your fire.
Everybody shoes off.
She's up. She put the avocado in the bun, give her back to right back. Hey now, a hard avocado in the bun, give her back to right back. Hey now, a hard avocado, what you see? Coming in a paradise place. She said that she had to wait for it to right back. Love that goes tick-tock, and the bad that goes tick-tock, tick-tock, and she danced around with beauty light. Hey now, beauty light. round, she danced all night. Hey now, pure delight, well, what more could there be in life than a huge avocado and a great big bite? If it's right, then there could be bing, bang, bang. I have seen the best minds of my generation not go gentle into that good night and rage against the dying of the light. I've seen them come and go, speaking of Michelangelo, and even asking, dare I eat a peach?
Shall I eat a peach?
Eat a peach. We know what's up, and we don't know what's up. So what the fuck? We just shut up and strut. But for real, sometimes often wonder, dare I eat a peach?
Dare I eat a peach?
Eat the peach.
Not waiting for Godot, like spies in a house of love. Lovers often wonder, staring at each other, dare I eat a peach?
Dare I eat a peach?
Eat a peach. Eat the peach. No, that's kind of cool.
That's not too
Why peach?
Oh, for the band?
Why the name? Why? What is the,
Oh,
what is the
two-
whole the
yeah.
lyrics?
Yeah, two
Eat a
reasons.
peach. What is the point of
Well,
this?
it came from T.S. Eliot, Prufrock, the poem.
Yeah.
And it also came up with joking with Apple, Apple Incorporated and all that stuff. But visually it looks like a butt, when you draw the logo. Okay, so it's got a lot of tongue in cheek. But the biggest thing in that poem, at least to me, was that one line. He's all flummoxed about being good in front of a woman and stuff in the poem, and he goes, "Dare I eat a peach?" Like it's gonna dribble on his suit or something. I mean, eat the effing peach, man. Just eat the peach. And so that's how I came up with the musical piece. Basically, is that that one particular piece is all in jam poetry of famous lines, but it always comes back to the refrain, "Dare I eat a peach?" And the musician yells, "Dare I eat a peach?" We all go, "Eat the damn peach!" And it's an excuse to just introduce ourselves, get over it, and just wail in the beginning, and then get on to the next piece, which is more less cacophonous, and and it's just having fun with the music. Because it's never the same. It's always a big noise at the end, and everybody's soloing like mad in their best virtuosic, presentation. There's funny political speak that goes on all the time in the United States in the English language. And what makes me smile sometimes is my friends who are not from the United States, and when they want to have a feeling of a command of the English language, they use these cliches that we're used to, that is, just kind of pablum as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, this is a poem that you can read from top to bottom or bottom to top, okay? It doesn't matter. But it has those things in it where I think that my friends in the Middle East, etc., are always authorizing themselves by saying these ideas. So anyway, Bill, if you want to read the poem.
I'll read from top to bottom.
Okay.
At the end of the day is the roadmap of fake news, which quacks like a duck when the crime is the cover-up, like this world has never seen, is on the table for failed states to obey the rule of law, in which the take, optics, and talking points takes a village to own it.
All right. So this thing can be read, it's from the bottom up. If you want to read it.
Here, I'll take that.
Bottom up.
Bottoms up. To own it takes a village, in which the take, optics, and talking points to obey the rule of law, for failed states is on the table, like this world has never seen, when the crime is the cover-up, which quacks like a duck, of fake news. The roadmap at the end of the day is...
Well, the equation.
the equation.
Give us a sax solo to end that thing.
Range of the area you're moving
Do the
through?
best you can.
Sure. I'll probably go here.
Ah, I gotta take some like psychedelics to do that.
I already feel like I'm on psychedelics.
Oh yeah, looks good.
It's best if you stay close to the screen.
Okay,
Yeah.
let the music start too.
Of course.
To go with it.
Of course,
Moving
Arthur.
down
Excellent.
from the screen.
It's so cool.
And how are you getting that too?
Don't worry, don't worry. It's
Very cool.
I know nothing about your background or anything about like how you got into music.
Well, my father's a professional musician, and he was a songwriter from the Middle East. He was Israeli and is of Yemenite origin and stuff. And I mean, I was sitting down in front of a piano when I was 1 year old, or even earlier than that. You know, I grew up with it, playing it, singing with my brother, singing with my father. Watching my father perform, and then I'd perform. I was at the Berklee College of Music when I was in my 20s, and I got into an avant-garde ensemble there, and it was an interesting experience for me to improvise. The Mask.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've always loved improvising, and I've always loved jazz, and I lived near a famous, for Los Angeles purposes, I lived near the Jazz Lighthouse when I was in high school, and I'd go there all the time, 3-4 times a week, and see some of the greatest jazz musicians in the world playing there when I was just a kid.
Oh, wow. So is this rather unusual to you, what we're doing here?
Not. I've been in a few. I've been in as I said, this avant-garde ensemble when I was in Boston years back. So it was. It reminded me of that a little bit. but I enjoy this thing. It's a little unusual, especially with the with Kazi, the dancer. That was beautiful, and also the visuals. I really was taken with the screens and those different images from the screens.
That blew me away because I made that animation just to show, and when she was in front of it, it was like she was like in sync with it instantly.
Yes.
And Arthur was playing along with it. You know, it was like we'd never done it before. It was complete improvisation. And
yeah, no, I really got into that. I was mesmerized by seeing her image and her movement in front of that screen.
What I really, want to get into a bit with everybody is the situation we're all in, living in the middle of this. Here we are talking to each other with masks on, and trying to create something, and you can't perform before people. And is this inspirational to you at this time?
Well, sure. I mean, it's this opportunity to interact with people and be creative with people, and as you say, improvising, and just, I mean, the fact that I haven't been playing out and playing live as often over the past 6 months has been it's been a real loss.
Do you have any ideas in your mind or hopes for what this might lead to?
I would hope that we could develop it some more and perform for people.
How do you feel about the situation of doing something like this in the middle of this pandemic?
I think we can't give up everything, and I think doing a little bit of art and doing something creative and interacting with other people is important. Some people doing by having people over for dinner and having conversation in their backyard at distance. But if you are working outside like this and we are wearing masks and staying away from each other, I think it's fairly safe. Everybody who's involved in it feels safe. I miss being in a confined space or in a defined space in terms of making music, because music sounds better when it's inside. Music outside is not you don't feel it in the same way. It disperses, especially the sound of a bass instrument doesn't sound right outside. It never sounds right. There have been plagues throughout time, throughout human history, and people have dealt with them in many ways, and a lot of art has come out of the plagues. Some of Shakespeare's writing was during a plague, and certainly the Decameron by Boccaccio was created in plague times, and it's something we go through as a culture.
You're the fourth person that I've done this with. 2 have worn masks and 2 haven't.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. So, what do you think about that?
I think that I know why I wear it. It's for to basically the people around me, and I'm staying with my mom right now and not wanting to expose her. And I understand why, in this environment, someone wouldn't wear a mask too, because it's distance and everything. So yeah, it's one of those things where I tend to be I don't know if I'd say live and let live. Sometimes I'm that way. I'm really good at seeing other people's perspectives, and then I also understand that as a people, we also need to hold each other accountable too, because at least with this scenario going on, it's one person's actions affects another.
Well, it's interesting to me, everybody has their own attitude, view of it, and it's there's no single point of view. And I don't want to get into politics, but I think that comes from the top, that we don't have a leader in this country who's saying, hey, everybody, we got a problem, we got to come together, we're a team, this is what we got to do. And so everyone's got their own attitude on how to handle it. I think some people are overreacting, some are underreacting. And then how did you end up involved in this funny little project?
So Bill, who you just interviewed, was my college professor. He was teaching a course called 290. Man, it's been so long, at USC. And his teaching style really made an impact on me. He really saw my like individuality and let me run with that, encouraged me to run with that, my unique style. And so ever since then, I felt like a trust really has built between us. So whenever I think this is actually the first project he's actually called me about, but there's such a trust on it that even though I had no idea what this project is, and I still don't really know what it is, I was game for it, because I know where he is, good things follow.
What you did in front of my animation, were you watching it and were your movements in sync with what you were watching, or was it just...
I don't think so. So when you sent me the clip, it looked like that, right? Like it looked like my arm was making a circle and with the animation. And I don't think I was doing that. I was such in the zone that I can't be too sure, but I really was just kind of living the moment. And it just happened to work out that way.
But that's so amazing to me because it was completely spontaneous, never done before, never practiced.
I've never seen it.
And Arthur just started playing music.
Yeah.
And it all went together.
I know. It's been interesting because my personality likes structure and planning and schedules and things in the right order, and I think that's been a coping mechanism I've learned over the years to somehow keep me safe, right? So obviously maybe not obviously, but in a pandemic, it's not as easy to have that same structure and know what's coming next and plan out my life like I was before. And that's exactly why I wanted to do this project too, because it's opening up another side of my brain and kind of forcing me to not know what comes next. Like I wouldn't, when I try to tell people what we're doing here, I don't even know how to describe it exactly. I don't know if we have a name, like a group name. And so anytime my brain is like, hey, like, let's figure this out, I'm just like, thank you, and let's just run with it and not have all the answers. So that's like actually a really big reason why I wanted to do this project.
That's great. The song you heard of mine, the first one, I'm going to sing tonight after dinner. And Arthur and I practiced it a little bit together, and he did something to it that's like so completely different from what I did. I don't know how it's going to turn out. No one else has heard it. And so what the hell? We'll see what happens.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because I believe that like things in my life like have all set me up for this moment.
performers in this little show we're putting together, there's a theme that's come out of it about people having an opportunity to explore something that they normally wouldn't in normal circumstances. And here we are dealing with limitations because we're in a pandemic right now. And so we're doing something in a backyard, and people are exploring, experimenting in ways they might not have the opportunity to do. And I found a couple of them said something about being used to working with structure and how this is freeing them up, and that they found this a really appealing opportunity to try doing things that are very spontaneous, which you have afforded everybody to do. So I'm wondering if this was like in your mind when you started this, if this is a philosophy in the creation of this project.
Well, it comes from a couple different angles. I mean, I love the idea of spontaneous composition. Some people would call it improvisation, but who cares what you call it?
Or poetry up and down.
Yeah, right. No, but I mean, part of the thing is, like I was saying before, we're all good at something, but not everything. And so it's my adventure a lot of times to try to spotlight on each of us what our best is, combine that, and see what happens. And it's challenging compositionally, and I mean, I do think about these things ahead of time a little bit, but and I think about the people a lot, you know, that it's what direction they're going in and what would be exciting, and that's why we never do the same thing twice, or at least we'll have some kind of architectural, you know, idea, but I'm encouraging all of us, including myself, to experiment with that each time we do it.
I always think that it's good for an artist to work within certain given limitations. It's like, you know, that show, there's a show on TV about food, what's it called? It's on the Food Channel where chefs are given some really unusual ingredients, and they're told, you've got, 10 minutes and you've got to make something with these as the main ingredients. Yeah. And that's kind of what this is. Well, there's something else about bringing our different backgrounds into this. And by the way, I'm not sure. I want to ask you, what's the language that you were singing? Was that a language? Does that sound Arabic or something?
It's like the Buddhists, who do that.
Yeah, right.
Well, they have those high notes on top of the low note, and they're singing, with those high notes, making melodies there. And
well, I also noticed you were rather pounding away at the keyboard, and you put your head on it.
Oh yeah.
I just want to make sure that it's understood by people watching this that you actually know what how to play the instrument. That you were performing the part during the video to dance, and that this was just theater, I suppose.
Well, no, there's a musical sense to that. It's I suppose you could compare working in chromatics and stuff like that to abstraction in art.
Now, what about your masks and your sculptures? What's the origin of those? What is the purpose of them to you?
Making a sort of a tongue-in-cheek idea of the Garden of Eden. So I was making sort of Ursat's angels, which I think the only difference between an angel and a demon is the horns. Because they both have wings and they both fly around. So we were making angels and stuff like that.
Angels.
So I mean, the fun of it was to have that sort of that iconography of heaven, and the idea of back there you've got the Garden of Eden. I've done everything from rock and roll stuff to academic stuff, to museum stuff, to and I love the variety of that. It's because sometimes when you're doing museum work, it's time to do that in a club, in a different context, or vice versa. It's time to take the club thing into the, into the museum, if there are still any museums left when we get out of this.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking about this thing that probably people are wondering, what the hell is that behind us? Talk about what that's been through, and I've been through with this work of art, sending it all the way to Europe and back for a show that never happened, and got damaged in transport, and nightmare to bring it back here, and I set up this is my own little museum. It's like the issues of putting yourself out there in the world. There's a lot of hazards in it, not just the pleasure of it. So that is so important, I think, in what we're doing as well, because as artists we have that freedom right now in our own space, even though we're missing the audience. But this is something so important to artists, to be disconnected from expectations outside of us before we put ourselves out into the world. You know, I know that you're basically a guitarist. You're playing this bouzouki. So why don't we, you know, can you play a little bit? Just, you know, just pick it up and we'll go into the studio and let you rip.